Today I wanted to talk to you guys about resources. All month long we've been talking about different survivors sharing their stories and what abuse looks like and some statistics. But I also have been mentioning resources. So I wanted you guys to be able to actually see a resource that's in your community so that you can get comfortable and know that they are there for you. So with that being said, today I'm at Empower House and I wanted to introduce you to two of their victim advocates.
My name is Jacqueline. I am one of the Latino Support Services Coordinator and one of the King George advocates.
Hi, my name is Susan, and I'm another one of the advocates here at Empower House, and I am also a court advocate.
And what I wanted them to share with you so that you know about the resources in your community is I wanted them to share a little bit about what services that they offer.
I can start off by saying we have a 24-hour hotline. You can call this hotline number anytime, any day. It's 540-373-9373, and you will reach an advocate on the other line. We also have a shelter, a safe place for you to come. We have support groups for women and children and teenagers.
So we have a lot of different support services that we are able to offer someone who has experienced intimate partner violence. We give survivors and their children the time and the space to rebuild their lives and do it with dignity and respect and safety and hope. So we are very thankful. We have been in our planning districts providing support services to individuals for 42 years now. And so we serve King George, Caroline, Stafford, Spotsylvania, and the city of Fredericksburg. If someone is not in our planning district but calls our 24-hour confidential hotline, we're still going to talk to them and walk through this process with them, safety plan, provide risk assessment, see if we can connect them to other services or other domestic violence organizations that may be able to provide services for them as well. So we are absolutely open to receiving the calls and giving people a time and an opportunity to speak with an advocate to ascertain what may be their next best steps.
Another thing to remember as well is that all of our services are free, and we have a language line that we can use if you speak any other language other than English or Spanish.
And everything's completely confidential. So
Everything is confidential. So under the Violence Against Women's Act, which is a federal law, and also under state and local guidelines through DCJS, all information that's provided to us is confidential. If a person doesn't want to give their name, they don't have to give their name if they're calling in on the hotline, but we can talk to people based off of what their comfort level is. We provide court accompaniment services if people are interested in either navigating through that court process or learning more information about the court process. We can provide information to them on what that could look like, things to expect in court. We are in the courts with individuals who may have court cases for protective orders or other related criminal charges, so we will provide on-site court service accompaniment for folks as well. We have our support services that has a broad span of supports that we will provide in other areas, such as our children and our youth advocates are working with our youth and our teens and our families. We do outreach in the schools when schools are operating on a traditional schedule, but we're also providing outreach to a lot of those families now.
So as victim advocates, what has been one of the biggest takeaways that you have learned as being a victim advocate?
I love to see them grow. I love to see the victims gain their own strength. I like to see how they transform into people who believe in themselves, who have faith that things are going to be better. And it's just amazing to see where they start and where they go as time goes by. To me, that's my favorite part of this hard job, is the reward of seeing them at a different space, at a different time in their life.
And you see that a lot, right?
I do.
Okay.
I do.
Yes,
Yeah,
awesome.
I do. It takes time, and
Right.
it takes patience,
Mm-hmm.
but it's gonna happen. It's gonna happen. They gain their strength. They gain, what they think that they don't have at the beginning.
Mm-hmm.
All of a sudden, little by little, it starts coming out, and you can see the true them.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah.
That's awesome. Thank you.
I would say I have many takeaways from being with this organization and in the role that I have, but probably some of the biggest pieces are the value of trust and the value of hope. And I say that because people come to us and share with us things that are at some of the worst times of their lives. This may have been recent, this may have been going on for years, they may have experienced things as children, but they extend to us trust. And to be able to pick up that phone and call that 24-hour hotline, the 540-373-9373, or to come to the agency and come to our doors, or to have a conversation with somebody and to extend trust to someone, it's not lost on us the faith that people have that we will hold the integrity of that trust. When people know that they are believed, and when people know that there are resources available, that there is someone that they can talk to, a skilled professional that can help them navigate and them identify what their experiences are, and that there is hope in so many different facets for themselves and for their children. I think that's two really critical pieces for me.
That is very valuable, right? Whenever you get a call from someone you don't know, and they don't know you, you don't know them, and they're trusting you with everything,
Right.
their entire life, they're trusting you.
Right. It's also so important, and that's why,
And that's why confidentiality is very
Right.
important.
Exactly. Right. Okay. So, what barriers have you guys seen in terms of working with your clients? What are the common barriers that you seem to run into as a victim advocate?
I think there are a lot of what people would consider to be a traditional barrier. We know that survivors of intimate partner violence, 98% will face some type of economic abuse as a result of the situation that they are in. So finances, not having access to finances, not having access to accounts and passwords and things like that. Sometimes navigating systems, especially now with the current pandemic and the stricter guidelines we're under, and offices like availability, some places with their hours and what services are not available as they typically would be within the community. So I think anytime we know an individual is in a dynamic where there's power and control, that is an immediate barrier. And that's why risk assessment and that's why safety planning, which are two primary services that we provide at Empower House, are so critical, because this is life-saving and life-intervening work
Right. Exactly.
that we are talking about when we're dealing with people who are in these situations.
The language is a barrier.
Yes.
The language is a barrier. The transportation is a barrier.
Yes.
Legal status is a barrier. Thinking that maybe your partner has more rights than you do because you come from a different country. Not being able to express yourself and what you need to say is a huge barrier.
Child care issues,
Childcare.
Right.
the ability to have accessibility to legal representation
Right. Right.
in the court systems.
And with some of those barriers, like I heard you say transportation, is that something that you guys do help them with in any way? Is there any supports that help with that transportation? Because yes, I have heard that's also a barrier with the clients I work with too.
I would say we will work with people. It's based on individual situations and what is going to be safest. Safety is paramount and is an integral centerpiece of all the work that we do. And so we're going to work with people based on what is going to be safest for them based on their needs.
And with everything that's going on right now in the world, as you've already mentioned, there's some more barriers because of what's happening right now with COVID. Have you noticed some changes or things being more intense or higher numbers, more reports?
A little bit of everything, right?
I'd say a little bit of everything.
A little bit of everything. Me personally, I've noticed that the violence is more intense. That it is harder for them to call. I remember just at the beginning of this COVID in March, how hard it was for somebody to reach for help, to call the police, to be able to make that call was so hard. And when they finally did, it was so much that needed to be shared. It was so much that they needed to let out. That was a shock for me to hear it immediately after COVID started, just the type of calls that you started getting.
Yeah.
And I would say that the pandemic, abusers have weaponized COVID. When you look at like Futures Without Violence, like national statistics from Futures Without Violence or NNEDV and some of our national organizations, and they will talk about across our nation how the numbers and hotline calls have risen. The types of violence that is now being reported has risen. Abusers will isolate their partners as part of that power and control tactic. Other services that we offer, we have partnerships. Our community partners are so valuable. If a survivor presents at the emergency department and needs advocacy services, we have a partnership where the hospital will give us a call so that we will know if that person would like an advocate to come and be on scene with them, then they can request that an advocate can come. We also, through Stafford County, are fortunate that we have courtesy space there. So we have an advocate embedded within the Stafford Sheriff's Office as doing Empower House work, maintaining the confidentiality, but provides extra accessibility for people that may live in that section of our planning district, and also in one of our rural counties. We had mentioned King George and Caroline are more rural counties, but we have folks in the sheriff's office in King George too, because when you talk about barriers, being in a rural county provides extra barriers as well for availability of services, accessibility of services.
What keeps y'all going in this type of work, being victim advocates?
I've always liked helping people. I witnessed domestic violence growing up as a child. In my family, in my circle, domestic violence is something that's dear to me. And I want to be help to people who are experiencing domestic violence or who have experienced domestic violence. I want to be their help. I want to be their support. I want to be able to give them hope that they can overcome
and you understand more because you lived it. So this is your way of giving back.
For me, I think anytime an individual or a group, such as a family, survivors and their children, no one deserves to be abused under any circumstances whatsoever, and to be marginalized and to be compromised at the hands of a person who is supposed to be a partner and instead is exerting dangerous power. So I believe everyone has a voice, and perpetrators need to be held accountable. And I think part of what drives me in this work is educating within our community as well, that this culture of keeping domestic violence behind closed doors, and that it's a private issue. It is a very private issue for people who are experiencing it, but it is not a private issue in the way that we can address it through services and through our legal system and through other mechanisms to hold people accountable and to let people know that they don't deserve it. It is not their fault. They and their children have every absolute right to safety and peace in their home, and primarily that they're not alone. Domestic violence is a camouflaged crime, and once we start putting a light in these dark corners, it gives people permission to know that there are services there, and there is going to be a voice on the other line of that phone that can talk to them about what they're going through and let them know that there's hope and safety on the other end.
And that's what I keep hearing from both of y'all today is safety and hope. So is there any other takeaways or something that you would like to say directly to victims?
You're not alone. We are here. You can call hotline 540-373-9373 any day, anytime, any hour. You will reach an advocate on the other line who will listen, who will believe you, and who will care about you.
And I would absolutely echo that, and I would say that it's not your fault. There is someone here to listen and to guide you through it. Sometimes it may be difficult to talk to friends or family because they may have their own ideas about how you may or may not be responding in a certain situation. There is no judgment here. We are here to be a resource and to talk to you about your safety and to let you know that we believe you. We absolutely believe you. And as Jackie said, we are here. That hotline is 24 hours a day, 7 days a week. And there's going to be a voice on the other end in the midst of this darkness.
I thank you ladies so much because I just really wanted them to put a face, even with masks. I wanted them to put a face to your organization because I do believe in y'all. You're a powerful organization in our community. And I'm always referring everyone to you. So thank you very much for taking time to do this video for my
Thank
Be
you.
the Light series.
Thank you for putting this out there for people.